When discussing Pythagorean's theorem with kids, it's always good to have some examples of how it can be used in real life, some real life applications. So one real life application that is very common is using it with maps, whether you're routing out a destination or just creating a map. It's always helpful because triangles are an easy shape to use within maps. Another example that is very common use for Pythagorean's theorem is when you're discussing the dimensions of a television set. And this is because TVs are shaped to where each corner is in a 90-degree angle. So since it's a 90-degree angle, the Pythagorean theorem will work as finding the hypotenuse from from one corner to the opposite corner. You can use the Pythagorean theorem to find that. So that's a cool way to use it in a daily life or a daily experience. Another one that's very common is when you're painting, like if you're using a ladder especially, like if you lean the ladder up against the wall, you'll have the height of the wall, which is a certain height, and then the distance between the wall and the ladder, and then that makes the ladder the longest side of the triangle, and it forms a right triangle, so you can use Pythagorean theorem to find out how long or how tall the ladder will be. And finally, another very interesting common use for Pythagorean theorem in our world is geologists actually use it to find the epicenter of earthquakes, which is a very fascinating fact. It just shows how math and science can be interrelated, and it shows how even though it's a math formula, you can use it in other aspects of the world. So, aside from uses of the theorem, it's always also good to always review some certain terms that you'll need to know in order to do the Pythagorean theorem and to better understand it. One term that should be a review is a right triangle. Now, a right triangle, all that means is one of the angles of the triangle is a 90-degree angle. And so, in order to find that, the easiest way like with the examples you'll be working on, the right angle will be depicted by having a small little square in the corner, and that just means that it has a 90-degree angle. Another term that should be a review is square roots. Square roots is a number that when you multiply a number by itself, so like let's say 4 times 4 equals 16, the square root of 16 is 4. So it's the number that you multiply twice to get the third number or your product. The number that you're multiplying, the smaller number, is your square root. Now it's also good to always look at some new terms and formulas for a new topic. One new term is for this particular theorem is legs of a triangle. Now, the legs of the triangle is just a fancy way of saying the sides of each side of the triangle, except they are the two sides of the triangle that aren't the longest side. The longest side of the triangle is what our second new term is the hypotenuse. Like I said, it's the longest side of the triangle, and you can use your legs of the triangle, the lengths of them, to find your hypotenuse. And finally, the formula for Pythagorean's theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And all that means is a and b in this case are your legs of the triangle, and c is your hypotenuse. So you use those lengths, and you square each side by itself, and you add your legs, the squares of your legs of the triangle, and that will give you the square of your hypotenuse. So in order to find that, you would, square the legs and add them together to get the square of the hypotenuse, and then you would just find the square root of the hypotenuse to find the length of it.